Hey folks, Matt Easton here. This is an old-fashioned style Matt Easton video where I'm just going to turn the camera on and off at the end with no editing so I can just get the video up as quickly as possible. But I've just come home to some really good news. For those of you who support me on Patreon, some of you may or may not have been aware of the fact that Patreon have been proposing some changes to their charging system that frankly would have been bad for people who are pledging $1 per video in my case, or you can cap that at per month if you want. And it would have been bad, and it would have unduly affected a lot of us who receive these $1 pledges for our channels, to keep our channels afloat and essentially bring us an income whereby we can, you know, for me, it can justify that now 2 days a week I'm now self-employed, rather than, you'll notice I'm wearing work clothes, rather than being 5 days a week employed for someone else as I was before. So for me it's actually meant you know, a massive life change. It's meant I can now devote 2 days a week to a mixture of making videos and my you know, buying and selling antiques, which is fantastic. I'm finally fucking doing what I want to do and not doing so much of the job that I don't want to spend the rest of my life doing, frankly. But to the point, Patreon were proposing these changes to their charging policy that frankly would have undoubtedly driven away huge numbers of people who can only pledge $1 a month or $1 a video. And Patreon obviously received a huge amount of feedback about this, opposing the idea and saying this is bullshit, basically. I'm in a private YouTuber creators group with some of the YouTubers that you undoubtedly subscribe to and like, and we all talked about this, and we all pretty much agreed that this was a shitty kind of decision by Patreon. And there was a petition started on change.org, and you know, I have mixed feelings about change.org. I myself have run a petition on change.org, and actually it was very effective, and it turns out this has been as well, and coupled with all of the other opposition and feedback that Patreon's obviously received. And so the amazingly good news is that Patreon, like, kudos to Patreon, if only governments were this responsive to feedback, but Patreon have put their hands up and gone, you know what, we got it wrong, we're not going to do that anymore. So they apologised, they said this was a not well thought out plan, we're going to go back to the drawing board and think out some other you know, option for the future. So, the short story is, for now, there are no changes on charging on Patreon. Thank you once again for everyone who supports me on Patreon and supports other creators as well. You literally, for any of you who don't support on Patreon, that's fine. You're watching on YouTube and we massively appreciate that. But the people who do support us on Patreon, they are subsidising us, they're enabling us to make as many videos and spend as much time on running our channels as we do. And quite simply, if we didn't have the Patreon supporters, we wouldn't be able to do as much on YouTube, especially because YouTube, frankly, is being a bit of a wanker at the moment, with demonetizing videos left, right and centre. For any of you who doesn't know, I'm sure lots of people watching this channel will know, but YouTube has a bot which any of us making videos related to weapons or warfare or history or politics or religion or various subjects that they consider sensitive or not advertiser friendly, and the bot basically flags us up and demonetizes every freaking video, and we have to request a manual review of the video to get it re-monetized. Now, every single one of my videos that I have had to have manually reviewed has been approved. But what that means is that our videos, when they're new, when most of you are watching them, are losing thousands and thousands of views, which means that everyone's YouTube revenue has gone down. And the ridiculous thing about this is it doesn't just affect creators, it affects YouTube as well. It means that YouTube's not making advertising money out of videos which they themselves then go, oh yeah, that's fine, that's advertiser friendly. But by the time they've done that, it's already lost thousands of views. So Patreon is really filling a really important gap. So anyway, this is just, I'm going to finish up there, but kudos to Patreon for listening to both the creators and the patrons and putting their hands up and saying, yeah, we got it wrong, we're going to go back to the drawing board. So brilliant. Patreon will continue as before, and whether you support me or anybody else on Patreon or not, thank you for your support and your viewing and watching all these videos. And please remember that the people who do support on Patreon are essentially giving a gift that enables creators to produce content for YouTube at a time when YouTube is becoming less and less financially worthwhile, shall we say. Anyway, thank you folks, thanks for watching, and this is good news. See you soon.